Something is moving in the crawl space. I've always preferred living alone. No shared walls, no footsteps overhead, no one else's breathing folding into mine when the lights go out. The house is older but steady, the kind that settles at night with soft ticks and harmless sighs you eventually learn to ignore. I work late from home, so the silence feels like a reward when I finally shut everything down and let the dark stretch naturally across the rooms. There's comfort in knowing every sound belongs to you. At least, that's what I believed before I started waking up at 3:12 a.m. The first time it happened, I thought it was a dream pulling me upward, the kind where your eyes open before your body understands why. I lay still, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what had interrupted me. That's when I heard a slow, dragging sound beneath the floorboards. A T. It wasn't loud enough to panic over. A T was deliberate enough that I couldn't dismiss it. The noise moved in short increments, like something adjusting its position carefully under my bedroom. I told myself it was pipes cooling, maybe the wood contracting in the drop of early morning temperature. Old houses make excuses for themselves. When I sat up in bed, the dragging stopped instantly. Not faded, stopped. The silence that followed felt immediate and aware, like something reacting instead of settling. I held my breath and waited for the sound to resume. Nothing happened. Eventually, I lay back down, embarrassed by how fast my heart had started racing. The next night, I stayed up later than usual. Not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to catch the sound in the act of happening. At 3:12, almost politely, it began again. The same slow pull through dirt, the same measured adjustment beneath the center of the room. This time I didn't move at all. I slid one foot slowly across the mattress, barely shifting my weight. Below me, the dragging mirrored the exact distance of my movement. I froze with my heel hanging half off the bed. A T. The sound stopped precisely where my foot did. A pressure built under the floorboards, faint but steady, bowing the wood upward, just enough to notice if you were looking for it. It felt like palms testing the strength of the barrier between us. I stepped off the bed completely. The pressure vanished. I stepped back onto the mattress. A slow scrape followed directly beneath where I stood. Not random, not wandering, tracking. I walked from one side of the bedroom to the other, careful and quiet, feeling ridiculous even as I did it. Underneath, it followed the path of my weight through the soil with disturbing accuracy. When I stepped into the hallway, the dragging shifted toward the threshold and waited. It didn't roam the rest of the house. It stayed aligned with me. The access hatch to the crawl space is inside my hallway closet, painted shut by the previous owner like something meant to remain untouched. I've never opened it. The space under the house is barely tall enough to kneel in, just packed earth and beams supporting everything above. That night, instead of getting back into bed, I lay flat on the floor and pressed my ear against the boards. For a long time there was nothing but the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Then, inches below my face, I heard a slow exhale. Not wind, not ductwork, breath, moist and close. Ka-ka. Something shifted directly under my cheek, the dirt compressing softly as if knees were settling into position. 5 distinct points pressed upward beneath the wood, spreading carefully like fingers testing their reach. They stayed there longer than they needed to. Then they slid away toward the center of the house. By morning, I had convinced myself I was overreacting, till I stepped out of bed and felt the hallway floor warmer than the rest of the house. Not heated, occupied. Tonight, I'm going to stand in one place at 3:12 and not move at all. I need to know how close it's willing to come when I don't give it anything to follow. Because I don't think it's trapped under my house. I think it's staying exactly where I am. It only moves when I'm above the crawl space. I've always liked the quiet of the house at night. It's a kind of silence that feels like it's yours alone, until something quietly starts tracking your every step. The first week after I noticed it, I convinced myself it was imagination. Old wood, settling. It's the kind of noises an empty house makes when it's left alone. I work nights mostly, so I'm used to the dark, the slow hum of appliances, the steady tick of unseen clocks echoing off walls. Even then, the feeling of being watched started small, a shadow following me at the corner of my vision, barely there, but persistent. 3 nights ago, I stepped out of the bedroom and heard it shift below me, slow, careful, as though it knew exactly where I was standing. The floor creaked under my weight. I froze. The dragging sound adjusted its path immediately, mirroring my pause, matching my balance, testing my attention. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I walked slowly down the hall, weight measured, every step recorded beneath me, felt, counted by something patient and deliberate. The scrape followed me, rhythm precise, responsive, correcting itself as I changed direction, moving only when my weight shifted onto that exact spot. It wasn't random. It wasn't mindless. It was learning me, mapping me, waiting for me to misstep before it made its next move. I tried to trick it, stepping lightly on one side of the hall, then shifting to the other. The noise adjusted immediately, always beneath the foot that carried more pressure. The closet hatch to the crawlspace is small, painted shut, something the previous owner clearly didn't want disturbed. I've never touched it, yet whatever lives beneath the boards already knows every inch of my floor, every weight I carry when I move through the rooms. I pressed my palm flat against the hallway, feeling warmth rising through the wood, subtle tremors against my fingers, like a pulse I couldn't control. I whispered into the empty space, "Show me." Nothing. Only the faint scraping as it repositioned beneath my feet, following without hesitation. I tried to walk backward, deliberately testing balance. The drag shifted slower this time, as if measuring the difference between anticipation and delay. I stopped completely. The silence felt like pressure, dense, almost waiting for a signal to resume, as if it demanded consent I wasn't authorized to give. I shifted my weight, just slightly. Scrape obeyed immediately, moving exactly where the pressure indicated, responding to motion alone. It was subtle, almost polite in its tracking, but every motion carried intent, patience, and a precision that made the hairs on my arms prickle. I stayed on the edge of the hallway all night, testing, moving, stopping, walking in patterns. The thing below continued mapping me tirelessly. By morning, I could feel it lingering under my bedroom floor, a heat pulsing faintly through the boards, like it had memorized the shape of my body in motion. I tried to sit in a chair instead of walking, followed the weight shift, dragging beneath the legs, adjusting like it had measured the difference in balance. I realized this thing isn't hiding anymore. It's waiting. It's learning. It's patient beyond reason, observing without eyes, correcting without sound, responding without thought. The concept of home doesn't exist for me anymore. Only patterns, movements, weight distribution, and the silent, perfect reflection beneath me. Every floorboard, every threshold, every hallway is now an interface between me and it. I feel its calculations in real time. I tested sleep last night, lying in the center of the bedroom. I didn't breathe wrong. I didn't shift. I thought that would make it pause. It didn't. Heat and subtle vibrations rose from below, measuring me, watching. I was the anomaly. It adapted instantly. I can feel anticipation in my joints now, muscles twitching slightly in response to movements I haven't consciously made. The air smells thicker, damp and earthy, the kind of smell a basement or crawlspace collects over years. but now it's inside the house, inside me. I caught movement in the reflection of the bedroom window. Nothing was there, but my peripheral vision insisted something shifted just below the sill. I realized the walls aren't just boundaries. They're part of its observation. Every gap, every hollow echo, every floorboard vibration is a sensor it controls. I placed a glass of water near the center of the bedroom and stepped back. The surface remained perfectly still, taut. I didn't trust it to stay that way. At 3:12, the glass trembled subtly. The drag began immediately under my feet, slower, heavier, deliberate, mapping my weight precisely as if it measured intention as much as mass. I realized something impossible. It only moves when I'm above it, up randomly, not when the house is quiet. Only in direct response to me. Tonight, I'll try something different. I'll stand perfectly still in one spot, letting it measure without my consent, waiting to see how precise it really is. Because I no longer believe it's just under my house. I believe it's learning me, preparing for when standing still isn't enough. The crawlspace started breathing. I've been waking at the same time every night, but tonight feels different, heavier somehow, like the darkness itself has weight pressing against the walls of my bedroom. I've grown used to the dragging under the floor, to its patience, to the way it maps my every step. But tonight, there's a new texture to the air. The house smells of earth, damp and cold, a faint musk I've never noticed before, almost organic, almost alive. I keep my eyes on the ceiling, pretending that whatever is under the floorboards cannot notice me staring, though I know it does. The first night I realized it responded only to weight. I thought it was measuring me. Tonight, I'm not sure what it's measuring. I step lightly into the hallway, trying to coax it to respond, just as I have for the past week. Floorboards hum faintly, a low vibration against my soles, almost imperceptible at first. Then, a subtle rise and fall begins beneath me, like inhaling and exhaling through the wood itself. I press my palm flat to the center of the hallway. Warmth radiates upward, gentle, deliberate. The drag beneath my feet adjusts instantly to every micro shift in my weight. But now it's accompanied by something new, the pulse of movement spreading outward through the floor. I crouch to feel it better. The wood undulates slightly, as if breathing slowly in response to me. The sensation is faint at first, almost comforting, like the pulse of a living creature beneath the boards. I exhale sharply. As comfort fades, the floor responds, lifting and settling just slightly, almost like lungs expanding. I try to jump in place. The boards quiver, but the movement feels controlled, resisting me in some way, guiding me without my consent. I crawl to the edge of the hallway. The crawl space reacts before my weight even fully shifts. I press my ear close to the floor. Slow, deep exhalations resonate beneath, damp, earthy, deliberate. The sound is not air moving through ductwork. It is the crawl space itself, exhaling, inhaling, alive in a way that is impossible. I realize I am not observing it. I am participating in it, a partner in an invisible ritual I never agreed to join. The walls feel tighter tonight, closer, as though leaning toward the center of the house to watch what unfolds. A soft smell of damp soil and something iron-tinged drifts upward, carried on each exhale through gaps in the floorboards. I try stepping back, thinking distance might remove me from its pattern. It follows instantly, adjusting the rhythm of the boards beneath my heels. I walk in circles. The pulse beneath me matches, sometimes slightly ahead, almost anticipating my motion. I lie flat on the floor again, cheek pressed to the boards. Breath rises beneath me, steady, deep, measured, warming the skin of my face through the floor. I feel the tips of fingers or maybe toes pressing gently upward from the soil beneath, testing my attention. The air grows heavier, almost viscous, as if exhaled through tight spaces for centuries. I try to sit, trying to separate my weight from the wood, but the crawlspace moves in tandem, subtle swells under the beams. The sound is no longer scraping. It is measured, deliberate, and rhythmic, like lungs working inside a body I cannot see. I whisper, "I know you're there," and the pulsing responds, almost knowingly, almost with intent. Every floorboard, every joist, every nail carries the impression of something alive beneath, watching, breathing, waiting. By morning, my legs are sore, my palms aching, pain, and yet I feel drawn back to the center of the hallway, compelled to witness it again. It has learned me more than I've learned it, more than I understand. Tonight, I am certain, the crawlspace is alive, breathing, aware, and it is tracking me in ways I cannot control. And I am only beginning to understand the depth of what waits below. What grew in my crawlspace has my face. I thought I knew the crawlspace. I thought I had time to understand it. I was wrong. Last night, it stopped reacting only to my weight. It began responding to my presence entirely, sensing me through walls, doors, air. The boards lifted in slow, deliberate waves beneath my feet as I walked down the hall. It was no longer subtle. The house itself seemed alive, pulsing, exhaling damp, earthy breaths through the gaps in the floorboards. I pressed my hand to the wood, but heat radiated upward, slow and sticky, like the touch of something that had waited decades. I leaned closer. Something shifted beneath me, solid now, pressing against the floor with the unmistakable form of limbs. I froze. 5 points pressed upward beneath the boards, moving with deliberate mimicry of my fingers. It wasn't just breathing. It was forming, shaping, sculpting something impossible. I reached for the closet hatch, but my hand shook, nails scratching the paint. The screws weren't rusted. The hatch lifted easily, as if it had been waiting for me to open it. Inside, the crawlspace smelled of damp soil and iron, thick and oppressive, almost viscous in the air. A faint form rose from the darkness, pale and damp, the shape of something human yet entirely wrong. It had the faint outline of a face, but features were misaligned, eyes too wide, jaw slightly too long, teeth jagged and uneven. Its arms extended, folding itself carefully to fit in the narrow space, moving with unnatural flexibility. I stumbled back, heart hammering, unable to look away. The creature watched me with eyes that were mine, wide and calculating, yet empty in ways I couldn't recognize. It mimicked my breathing, slow and deliberate, chest rising and falling in perfect sync with my own. Every twitch, every flinch, every micro-adjustment I made was mirrored by it. I realized with horror that it had learned me. Not just my weight, not just my patterns. My body, my gestures, my presence. The shape pressed upward, stretching toward the opening, fingers brushing the frame of the closet like it had practiced this motion endlessly. Its lips parted, forming my own smile, twisted and wrong, exaggerated, mocking the expressions I make unconsciously. Tainted. I backed away. It rose further, still folded to fit, moving with precision impossible for its malformed body. The floorboards creaked and bowed, the ceiling groaned, as if the house itself were reacting to its presence. I tried to scream. My voice came out thin, almost swallowed by the pressure in the room. The thing lifted its head fully, and the face that looked like mine grinned, eyes wide, teeth uneven, wet. Staggered toward the door, but the air itself seemed heavier, pressing against me, making every movement sluggish. The T was waiting, patient, intelligent, aware of my fear, savoring it, learning from it. The smell of damp soil and decay filled my nostrils, mingling with the coppery scent of something I couldn't identify. I stumbled into the hallway, glancing back. Its form had stretched impossibly, long and thin, fitting the space as if it had been there my whole life. I heard something soft whispers, maybe, or the echo of my own thoughts refracted through its mimicry. It stepped closer, not moving across the floor, but shifting in place. The crawlspace itself reshaping to accommodate its motion. I tripped, fell onto my hands. The boards beneath me gave slightly, and I felt the pressure of it, solid, cold, impossibly strong. Its face, my face, grinned closer, pressing toward the opening eyes that shouldn't be wide enough, watching me like prey. I crawled backward. It rose further, folding, stretching, forming perfect mimicry of my body, my limbs, my weight. And then it whispered, not in a voice, but in intent, something unformed yet unmistakably mine. It's time to stand still.